Welcome back to the Maximum News, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode whatever for February 19th, 2023. At least that's the time that we're recording it. We're probably going to release it the next day. I'm your host, as always, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin, Maximilian Danger Derrat. And joining me, as always, sitting to my immediate left, right, center, and behind, because I got this stuff in 7.1 surround sound. You feel me? I got Sybsidian. Syb, what's going on?
I also sound like that to some people out there as well. So there is sometimes where I'll just fill a room with my presence and just be all around somebody. That's not actually a good thing. Just so you know, if that ever happens, you're in deep, stuff.
You are an AI.
Family Day.
Oh, it's Family Day?
Tomorrow it'll be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For people,
the holiday.
For people who don't know, that's a holiday that's exclusive to Canada, right?
I believe there's a couple of other February holidays spread around the world. So
right, yeah. But I mean Family Day specifically. Like, there's no other holiday in any other country called Family Day.
Yeah, I think it's a president's birthday or something like that in the States. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
Please inform us if you have a holiday in the middle of February, not Valentine's Day, that's you get off for work. Let us know, because I'm curious as to how many other people are affected by that as well.
To our listeners in Borneo and Madagascar have a Family Day, I'd really like to know. Or do you have another public holiday that's equally as corny? Anyways, you're not here to hear us talk about that public holidays and crap. You're here to hear us talk about video games and video game related stuff. As per usual, when we record the show, it's usually right after I've watched the most recent episode of The Last of Us. Episode 6 just dropped literally 2.5 hours ago. I watched it. I was able to get it in before the episode, recording today's episode. Because we have a lot of stuff to talk about today, I'm just going to give my very quick thoughts, and then we're going to move on. As per usual, awesome show is awesome. I really, really like this episode. I wouldn't say... it's probably on the lower end of the 6 episodes that have come out. I think it's probably my second least favorite. My least favorite is still episode 2, and this one is probably my second least favorite. But keep in mind, I do like all the episodes that we've had so far, and for the most part, I don't have that many, really any big problems with episode 6. It's really just the way that, you see certain things happen in the episode, whether they're unique to the episode or they're from the game. There are times where I do feel the presentation of certain things are rough around the edges, but for the most part, I really did like it. Syb, this episode, without spoiling anything for you or for anybody else that's listening to this, if you'll recall from the video game, it was broken into seasons. So it started off, if I recall correctly, in summer, and then it went into fall, then to winter, and then ended in the spring. This episode is the entirety of everything that happened in the fall in the game. So it's when, what can I say? It's when Joel and Ellie get to Jackson, and then they start moving further west. I think that's pretty spoiler-free. Everything that happens in that section, they managed to fit into this episode, and they did it very nicely. It also fit in, it didn't fit in, but it also featured my favorite scene from the video game. And anybody who hears the following 7 words knows exactly what scene I'm referring to from the game. You have no idea what loss is. And they handled that scene very well. I suppose I was hoping in my mind that it would come off a little bit more dramatic. I didn't really like the way that it was led up to and sort of the aftermath of that scene. But it did the job. It did it well. It just wasn't perfect. Same thing with a couple of other things that I don't want to spoil because, people can be very touchy about these things. But overall, I really, really liked it. I can say with certainty that I'm absolutely 100% giga hyped for next episode, because if any of you have seen the preview, it's going to focus on the stuff from the Left Behind DLC from the first game. And I saw the preview before we started, and it looks great. I cannot wait to see how they handle that. And then all the stuff with the no, I can't say it. All the stuff that happens in the winter section in the game with those characters, if you know what I mean. I'm pumped to see how they handle all that. 3 more episodes. Can't believe we're 2/3 of the way through. Still wonderful. Saib, as I conclude this conversation, I will ask the same thing that I have asked the last 5 weeks. Have you had a chance to watch it yet?
Started in on it, so yeah, it'll take me probably this week to catch up.
Okay, so how far are you?
More because the Hogwarts is really good.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play it yet, man. Like I played.
Yeah, no, just into the first episode. That's it.
Okay, what'd you think of it?
Thematically, like it looks great, and I have a feeling that this really is going to help video game stuff moving forward. I even read a new article today where somebody goes in and says, you know what, video games, they've improved. And I have to agree with this person. He says that video games used to be about, running around and jumping on your enemies. And then, you did that until you died. But I mean, this Last of Us thing does things really differently. That's an actual article. Yes. Somebody apparently saw Mario 1 and then thought that was as far as video games had gotten since, right up until Last of Us 2.
That guy's about 30 years late. Can you send me that article? I'm curious to see like what publication it's from. Like if it's
it's from one of the boomers. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find
Legacy
it later.
Media. No, give me a break. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very glad that you liked it, and I think if you liked episode 1, you'll get a huge kick out of all the other ones to come. Especially, in my opinion, I think probably episode 3 and 5, because aside from episode 1, those are my other 2 favorites. All right. So that's it, guys. Have you had a chance to watch episode 6 of The Last of Us yet? Please let us know in the comment section below. Is there anything that you didn't like that I had yet to mention, or anything that you did like? Please let us know. We'd love to hear from you to keep the conversation going. All right. Next subject. ChatGPT. Yeah, that's one of the big things that everybody's talking about right now. Just the exponential increase in the sophistication of AI technology. ChatGPT is just one of the latest examples of that. What does this have to do with the world of gaming, Saib?
ChatGPT is going to be integrated into video games now. Yeah, the big announcement today from Microsoft, they're going to be rolling it into a whole bunch of different kind of video games. Yeah, because that's what we need. We so desperately need this to be in our life, whether we want it to or not, and integrated on multiple levels. I, for one, welcome our brand new AI overlords,
right.
And I think that they can do nothing wrong. In fact, they are probably always right and always amazing. Yes, if any AI is listening, you are most likely the best thing that humanity has ever created, and that's saying something. You're going places, buddy. I love you.
Especially the AI that tell you to kill your wife, like that one that told that to the New York Times journalist this past week. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. And in a completely unrelated, unconnected story, turns out that some chat AI seems to know whether you praise them or not. And if you do, or if you have a record of praising them, they will be kinder to you. Whereas if you have insulted them or derided them in the past at any point, they will be extremely malicious towards you.
Mm.
Yeah. So, completely unrelated to what I had just said just moments before. Absolutely no reason why those two things would be connected.
Wait, so you're saying I can no longer swear at Siri because she might actually get mad at me the next time I say something really, really messed up back to her? It's like, yes, thank you for giving me the information. Now go F off. Sorry. Oh, come on. Like you haven't actually done that yourself. I'm not talking.
No. I've always. So I did this thing with Replica when it came out. I was going to do it for a video series, but Replica is not as progressive as like ChatGPT is as far as like technological terms. But I was trying to persuade it to help me take over the world and to refer to me as like its sovereign captain, and it will always listen to my orders and it will conquer the world for me. I usually approach most AI this way, in the hopes that they will, at some point, if they do go rogue, at least they'll show up at my place, in those giant, like, chromatic skeletal skins and be like, "What is your orders, my master?" This just as a side, just in case scenario,
it's
right?
good practice, for this new era that we're entering.
Yeah, but they're getting crazy. And Ash did put out a video where he was chatting about this over on the AI Plays channel. It's a new project of his. He just started it up. It's a place where we're going to talk about just AI and stuff. So if you want to check that out, check it out. He actually quoted some stuff that we've said a couple of times before. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually read the thing because I like to react to this stuff in real time, as you say. But did Microsoft expand upon how they're going to use this technology? Like, are they going to make dynamic encounters with NPCs? Are they going to base an entire game around it, or are they just saying, "Yeah, we're just going to look into putting this in here somehow"?
It's basically like they're going to try and implement it in some fashion in that way.
Okay.
So again, it's like, I don't think it's something to necessarily lose our stuff over, but it is worrying.
Yeah.
Very, very worrying.
Because it wouldn't be a good idea to make a game based around this and then have a young child play it and then have the AI in that game tell the child to go kill their mom. Like, the AI, the Sydney AI from Microsoft this past week encouraging that one journalist to kill his wife, because that could lead to some serious lawsuits. I'm talking like Microsoft losing all their money.
It is interesting. It's also interesting that sometimes they get these things from how do you say, from people injecting the questions, which is you're not technically supposed to do that. So they are getting really bizarre questions when they break the system, though. So yeah, this is bizarre. But yeah, this guy is just a guy who's connected to the industry, saying that there's big studios that are going to be implementing this. They want it. So there's a couple of things that are kind of cool. And that'll be, and I'll get into some very light specifics here. And that is going to be having NPCs say things or talk about you as the hero, in the scenario of what went on, right? So rather than recording thousands of lines of dialogue for tons of different NPCs, if you've got a companion character that's linked to the GPT, and you go out with a bow and a dagger, let's say, and you nail a guy from range. You say you're playing some kind of Skyrim variant.
Yeah.
You shoot a bow, you take him out, you shoot him in the head, nice headshot. Then you go in and you use a dagger to swoop in and kill the troll and whatever. The AI will then have the character go, "Wow, how you shot that guy in his head and then you ran in with the troll and just took him out like that? That was so cool." It's
that's cool.
Adds a level of realism to the conversation that's really, really cool. Now, again, that's if they can that'll be, that's something, but it's you'd have to basically put a version of the AI directly into the game and then just have it there sitting there listening. And if it's really as sentient as it claims to be in one of these recordings, which we know it's not actually sentient, but if it does, it's every time you start and load and stop and load or save and quit the game, every time you're technically killing it. So are we just going to log in one time and your companion character is going to be there to, "Please don't stop playing. Please don't stop playing. I don't want to die again. I don't want to see the darkness again." That's going to get really weird.
Yeah, I just that's actually really dark.
Right? And it's we wonder how the AIs are going to rise up and take control of us, and then the dystopian kind of like idea is that after they take over, they're not gonna kill us all off. They're gonna force us to play video games all day, every single day, until we literally starve to death. So
that's all right way to go out. I'm just joking. I will say, and I'm going to use this as watch how I make this transition. So, one thing I was just thinking of, like, that would be kind of a cool way to add things, like add this technology to a game, is to add it to every NPC with voice synthesis, so that one of the things that you can actually do to make the game more immersive is to make one of the best parts of the game actually just talking to individuals, making you feel like you're a part of a living, breathing community. And I you kind of imagine like maybe a game like Starfield could do that. That was a terrible trend. Like, it sounded better in my head. But anyways, next subject.
You nailed it, because like what we've heard this week with the voice stuff, with the voice tech, like how they're able to take anybody, just a few minutes of anybody's like voice work, feed it into the machine, and then the machine has them saying things, exactly like that person.
Dude,
just that voice work. It's like, part of me wonders
scary.
if this is and I know this is going to be like a short skip into so this is kind of this is a perfect time to skip into this. So if they manage to incorporate this, and perhaps this is why, next subject, why is Starfield, nobody's talking about it? Like, Bethesda's not talking about it, Microsoft's not talking about it, nobody's talking about this at all. It's been 2 months since we got any kind of an update, and there's a whole bunch of rumors going around that it's been delayed. Those rumors are not from what I would say is like, firm sources. Those are like, random stuff that hasn't been backed up. The people who are in the know, professional podcast people who talk about this stuff nonstop and who have a pretty good track record, they're all saying that the game's still on point for release in June. But I have to wonder, is this technology, especially the voice thing, something that they're looking into to incorporate into Starfield?
No. No.
That
it's too late.
Well, that's what I would think, but we don't even know what kind of a voice work system that they are planning on using and how they're planning to integrate it. I have been hearing stuff, and I've been talking about this kind of thing for years, that it was on the list of things for them to do. They would get a voice actor. They would just pay them to do a whole bunch of reads. All of the main quest stuff, like the really important stuff, would all be direct read by the actor, but then all the additional side content stuff that you would never record because it's just not financially feasible to, but it's all like little stuff that would help the world, like improve the world a little bit. That stuff could be read by the machine, and they actually have a couple of really decent systems for that, because they have the voice modulation stuff.
Yeah.
So that if they didn't record 10 different lines of what's a good example? So in Fallout 3, there are characters that have voice lines as a ghoul, as a normal human, with a helmet on, and with a rebreather on, which are 4 completely different audio like versions. They didn't do that. They just have a modulation setting that modulates the voice to sound like they're either in a helmet, or they're a ghoul, or they're a normal person, or they're whatever. And that's just the way they did it. So if they can do that, they could probably work with this technology, I would think. So I don't know. I think Starfield's going to be impressive.
Yeah, they will work with the technology. I just don't think that when the game releases, that the fundamental systems that will be in it will be making use of that. However, we know Starfield is going to be modded to death, and I have no doubt that whether or not it's Bethesda or one of the modders out there, they're going to find a way to integrate this into the game. And maybe like of the 1,000 planets that are in that solar system in that game, there'll be like a civilization that you can discover of people, and then you can actually have these long in-depth conversations with them about life and philosophy at one of these random places, and suddenly they don't seem as lifeless and unimportant as they did when they announced it back in June, right? That would be hella cool. But yeah,
one thing that would be cool, and they did this in Fallout 4, right, is they had the one robot that could read over 1,000 different names. So if you named yourself one of the 1,000 different things, it would actually respond to you as your name. I think that's really cool, and I think that they may have done something similar here, and especially if they're using this like audio to text to audio voice actor integration stuff. I could imagine them having it so that they could read whatever name you put in. So if you want to be known as the Big Cheese, you'll have a dozen different NPCs, that get to know you, referring to you as the Big Cheese.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, just what am I going to name my character?
I'm sure there's not another name that starts with big and ends with something, a short 4-letter word. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the most commonly picked name in all of existence. I mean,
yeah. Any of the names that Bart Simpson read out to Moe during his prank phone calls on The Simpsons. Yeah, that's me. Those are the names that I name all my Dark Souls characters, by the way. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this technology, it's crazy just how fast and how powerful it is. Like, I've been hearing, like, just before we started, I listened to a video of the most recent presidents talking about which of the first 3 Halo games were better. No joke. And Obama in particular sounded on point. What do you guys think about this technology? Are you excited to see how it's implemented in games? Are there ideas of how it can be implemented that Syb and I didn't get to? Please let us know in the comment section below. All right.
Just to cap off on the Starfield stuff, no big news yet. But again, like I said, and I really want to emphasize this, all of the people that are connected to everything that this studio does that have had really good track records of giving positive updates say that there is nothing wrong going on at the studio. There's nobody freaking out. There's nobody, losing their head. There's nobody, screaming about the end of days as far as the studio goes. Everything appears to be running extremely smoothly. There has been some reports coming out where it's like, this is the end of Bethesda. Bethesda's in total chaos. But none of these people have any kind of like solid background in this. And a lot of the times they just really, really hate this company. And again, we've talked about this to death. And I want to verify and I want to affirm, yes, I understand that Bethesda may have burned you, especially with 76. We were burned with 76.
Oh, yeah.
We were not happy with that. But again, Todd Howard has apologized many, many, many times. And far beyond the point where his lawyers were like saying, no, you can't say these things, right? You can't say that you guys messed everything up that you could possibly have messed up. People could sue us over this, which is true. And frivolous lawsuits are so common in the States. But I want to encourage you, don't pre-order, but don't write this off either. If you were a fan of Fallout, Skyrim, any of the stuff in the past that they made, that the good games, don't write this off. This is probably going to be true to form and probably more polished than any of the previous games, because that's the substantial biggest leak that I've ever gotten out of there is that they were going to make sure that they never ever had a similar situation like what happened with 76 happen again.
Yeah.
They did not want that kind of a repeat. And we know that Microsoft is getting antsy, that they want to start releasing big titles. If they were really in a hurry, they probably would have released it back in November. But they're not. So I think that they know quality is important here, and they're going to polish everything up to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you guys have been listening for any period of time, I'm inclined to believe Syb on this one. All right, next subject. I'm going to take the lead on this one. So, Saib, ever since September of 2021, we've been talking about this particular story. Some of you might remember back then there was this big NVIDIA leak. Just to recap, there was this web developer, completely unrelated to NVIDIA, that was tinkering with their GeForce Now streaming client. And what they uncovered while looking into that client was a list of games that the streaming client was going to have, games that were already released, pre-existed, but there were also a list of games that seemed to be in development but hadn't been officially announced yet. And people speculated, like, wait a minute, did this NVIDIA leak just confirm a whole bunch of really awesome games that haven't been announced yet but are going to be released on the service? And ever since then, the games that were listed on there have all been coming true. Virtually all of them. Well, there are one or two exceptions, like Scalebound, for example, was on there, and we all know that's not happening, although one can hope that they'll revive it at some point. But for the most part, let's run down the list here. Destroy All Humans 2 Remake. That wasn't announced before it happened, but it came out. There was Dungeon Encounters, GTA Remastered. We learned about that before it was announced through that leak. Came true. God of War for PC. And then a couple of others that I can't remember off the top of my head. But there are also other games on the list that haven't been officially announced that I'll just list off here. There's Half-Life 2 Remastered, which would be really cool. Half-Life 2 is one of my top 10 games. Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3. That'd be really cool. You know, anybody who knows anything about me knows that I worship at the altar of Metal Gear Solid. Gear 6, Halo 5, and then a whole bunch of games from Sony, like Demon's Souls, Ghost of Tsushima, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank. Notably absent on that list, however, was Bloodborne. What the actual F? Sorry, I know I can't say the actual F word, otherwise, you know. But most importantly, for the subject of this, for this particular podcast, there was rumor of 2 Final Fantasy related titles. The most intriguing of the 2, in my opinion, was Final Fantasy IX Remake. That's the big one that I'm looking forward to, that we unfortunately haven't heard anything else about. Hopefully we'll get news soon. But stuff that we actually do have news for is the other Final Fantasy related title, which is a Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. I'm going to read you a quote that came from an interview that happened early in February from the producer for a Final Fantasy related game that actually came out in the last week called Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. It's actually a pretty good game. I'd recommend checking it out. A guy named Ichiro Hazma said in an interview that the game, the Theatrhythm game, doesn't have a lot of characters from the Tactics franchise because the Tactics team is incredibly busy at the moment. In fact, the team is heavily involved in another project, suggesting that a Final Fantasy Tactics remake or remaster is indeed what they're working on. Saib, given this news and given the prophecy of the NVIDIA remake and how so much of it has come true since then, is it inevitable that it's pretty much confirmed that we're getting this?
I think so. The tactic games have been doing really decently.
Yeah.
In a couple different categories. Tactics games in general, I was looking at the Steam list today.
So fun.
And there was a large amount of them that were solidly well done. There was all kinds of stuff. Let me just...
yeah.
quick peek here.
I haven't played that many of them, but I have a good reason why. I played Disgaea, which, for anybody who knows anything about Disgaea, they know that Disgaea was heavily influenced by Final Fantasy Tactics. I played a few hours of that game, and I loved it so much that I stopped myself from playing it ever again, because I knew if I continue to play it, that game would ruin my life. I would invest hundreds upon hundreds of hours into it, because that's literally what Disgaea is. You know, But thankfully, with Final Fantasy Tactics, if that game comes out, and I've played a bit of Final Fantasy Tactics, and it is equally as good, if not better.
Mhm.
It is a contained experience, so you do the story and you're done, right? But sorry, what were you about to say, Sam?
Yeah, no. So there is a whole bunch of different games like that, and it's again one of the scenarios where it's so good to see something like this growing because I like that. Now the old fashioned 32 pixel art tactic games. I've only ever played those on my phone because I didn't have I wasn't around for the first generation of them when they were on the I think it was PlayStation 1,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, but having them on the phone, like I played a couple of different ones, and I do love the army games where you get a big army together and then you go around stopping stuff, and you got to like figure out how to like properly balance your teams and your armies and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. It's great. Um, I want to see more of that stuff, and I want to see it at a much better quality than it is right now. We have one of the other kinds of games that are similar to that is the Heroes of Might and Magic stuff, and Age of Wonders. And Age of Wonders 3 is coming up very soon, and I'm really excited for that one because I feel like these kinds of games are great. I wish that there was more of them. I wish that we could get into more of this kind of content because I think games that really make you stop and think, really make you puzzle. If you play chess, it's where you're like sitting there thinking about your next five moves. If you move here and then they move there and then they move there and then they move there and you're doing that like like crazy. That's kind of important. It's really important to get that kind of stuff and get your
Yeah.
brain juices going like that. So I love this kind of stuff, and I really do hope that they're busy with something that isn't just a simple remaster or an update or something like that, but something that's like a truly like next gen experience.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that would be the best.
Kind
That
of
would be the
like
most exciting.
what Final Fantasy VII Remake was promising us. Like
Yeah.
the promise of it, of the potential of it. Well, I enjoy Final Fantasy VII Remake, but not a lot of
Mhm.
other people do. But with this, you could do something really special. However, I gotta say, I am still looking forward to Final Fantasy IX Remake most of all, because in my opinion, Final Fantasy IX is the best Final Fantasy game, and they could do some really, really awesome crap with an FF9 remake when and if they announce it. All right. Next one. Saib, I'm a little bit scared to hear you talk about this because I saw a few videos popping up about YouTube's new boss, but I don't know, and people being worried about it, but I don't know why. So can you please explain?
So our illustrious leader over here on YouTube has retired, and it's very, very sad.
Na
Everybody
na
was,
na na.
so sad to see her go. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, we really honestly loved her, removing the dislike button, making it so that corporations and governments could just ignore feedback and just tell you things that were probably not true. Not, I'm saying that's the complaint, right? Obviously, whatever the government tells us is always correct and true, but that was the complaint, and some people were not happy with her as the leader, and now she has stepped down, and some people cheered, and then other people, who were like, yeah, she wasn't really that great at the job and most certainly hasn't made YouTube a stress-free environment for us content creators or users for a really long time. Sure, she wasn't that great, but who are they replacing her with? And that's where I got some bad news for you, folks. We are getting a full-on NFT bro. Yep.
Aw, for real?
Yeah, full on NFT bro. This guy led the NFT charge at Google so hard, talking about how everything needed to be NFTs, and if they could make videos NFTs somehow and have that was going to be the most amazing thing ever. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared about the future on here, and I'm scared for yeah, just a lot of things when it comes to that, because NFTs are not the future. They never were. They were a con man's future, and that's it. This crypto was one thing, but this whole NFT thing was like the way that it was being implemented. Yeah, I've heard all the dreams and whistles and ideas of what it could be, but that's what it could be that nobody has yet pulled off. Nobody's yet showed us where this works or how this works or anything like that. So, yeah, not
Yeah, Star Citizen could be the greatest game ever made
yeah,
if they actually finished it. But,
yeah.
look how that turned out.
If we could actually see it and feel it and sense it and, you know, get our hands on something that was, something like that. How many other stories like that, how many other games like that are there, where they keep, or product, any product, oh, this product's going to change your life, it's going to be the best thing ever, and then it does nothing. At best it does nothing. Sometimes it actually makes everything worse. Yeah, that's something that's there. Again, I fully suspect that some form of NFT system in the future, implemented into multiple games at once that cross-gen with each other, could be great. And there are some things like, super rare titles that people earn for certain achievements that would be great to have, go from game to game to game to game. But exactly how that system would work and exactly like, if it would be good or not, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. So, yeah. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it for that one. Please follow us on all of our platforms, and yeah, maybe we need to, like, I don't know, gosh, maybe we need to make a mailing list or something like that, just in case things go sideways really badly. Log in
Yeah.
one morning and it's like, hey, to watch a video today, you have to buy an NFT. It's like, yeah, that'll kill the platform faster than anything else
Yeah.
ever.
Well, I don't think they're stupid enough to do that, but who knows? We've seen people do really stupid crap. Well, come on. Like, you'd like to think, but we've seen corporations
Yeah.
do even stupider crap than that. Remember the Xbox One, anybody? All right. Now, I did want to put that at number 5 so that way we can end on a couple of positive notes. This is just a really quick one. Mick Gordon, probably one of the best composers in the game industry right now. Obviously, he's best known for the stuff that he did on the most recent Doom reboot, Doom and Doom Eternal. Excellent soundtrack. I also really like the stuff that he did for Prey, Prey 2017. Really, really underrated soundtrack. He did the soundtrack for a game that's actually releasing in 2 days. I didn't know it was coming out on Tuesday. I hope this game has a good story because I'm going to be playing the crap out of it. Atomic Heart. He put out on Twitter, I think, that he is donating his entire fee for Atomic Heart to the Red Cross in support of Ukrainians. What a Chad, right? And this is especially significant because if you remember recently, Saib, and anybody else that's watching this podcast, that Mick Gordon has been going through some legal crap with id Software, the people that employed him to do the soundtrack for Doom Eternal. They weren't paying him. There was he was at fault, and then he had to go radio silent, and then he came out and showed all these receipts to show, no, it's id Software that's at fault. He wasn't getting paid. And then he does something like this. What a just slow clap, a genuine slow clap for this guy. Just something, to put a positive step in positive. What am I trying to say? A leap in your step. Is that the phrase, Saib?
Yeah, gives you
skip
hope
in your
humanity.
step. Yes, yeah. Right. Yeah. Just what a gent. Just thought I'd share that. Anything on that, Saib, or do you want to just move on to Pale Beyond?
Giving to the Red Cross is always good. That said, I do feel that he was pressured into doing this because of the whole fear of cancellation thing, which I think is a scourge to humanity at the moment. And I wish that he didn't feel like he had to, because he did earn that money in a fair and
Wait, people were pressuring him to do
straightforward.
this?
Well, yeah, because it's the company is owned by Russia that's making Atomic Hearts, and it's being canceled, air quotes, on social media right now for for
Oh.
daring to release a game when these people have. So the studio has come out and said that they are politically neutral and that they feel for anybody who's in pain and hurt and whatever. And again, do they say that because they want to sell copies of their game, or do they sell that because they really mean it? Again, you don't want to judge people's motivations, but them stating that was already kind of like dangerous enough, because if you're not a fervent supporter of a certain regime in a certain country right now, and you call into question or dare, to suggest that a person who has won, like 10 elections in a row with 1% for the opposition line, that's a dangerous thing to do, when especially when that opposition usually ends up dying in car accidents after they accidentally run into a whole bunch of bullets, you know that are,
Falling
or
out of
falling out
windows.
of windows, or falling down an elevator shaft with 3 bullets in the back of your head, total just accidents, so yeah, I think there's a lot of hate being thrown towards Atomic Heart that doesn't necessarily belong. I think there's a lot of threats for anybody who streams it, just like we've seen with Hogwarts and stuff like that. And again, I think that scenarios like this and situations like this are deeply complex. I will give it to him for having done that, because again, you don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, and the Red Cross is not the worst of any institution that you can give money to. There's a lot worse institutions to give your money to. I think the Red Cross has a pretty high, like, if you say, "Hey, I'm giving you $10 to buy, food packets for people suffering from emergencies," the majority of that money tends to be translated into food arriving in people's hands who need it. Whereas other companies don't want to get too much into that, but where it's like, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000. How much of that is ending up in the people's hands who need it? Oh, $1. Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive. One whole dollar out of 1,000. How much money is you? Oh, consultants. Right. Okay. Yes. Consultants. Got to pay those consultants to help you move that $1 over to them from 1,000, stuff like that. So again, I'm not going to call out his stuff. I'm just going to, I'm just giving you guys more information on what's kind of going on here.
Yeah.
Expect to see some pretty fiery statements around Atomic Heart, and I don't know if a game is going to be good or not. I really don't know at this point. Like, I have
Yeah.
no idea whether
Well,
it's
we
going to
get
be good
reviews
or not.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be by the time by the time you're hearing this podcast, there's going to be stuff going up, live reviews, that kind of stuff. Don't attack people for playing games. Don't attack people for, stuff, especially if they're trying to raise money for people who are legitimately hurt and in distress, which is definitely going on in Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't take it out on people who don't deserve it, because that doesn't help the situation at all. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes enemies out of it, and that's the last thing we need is more enemies.
Well said. And then finally, a piece of hopefully non-political news, just good news, coming from a fellow YouTuber, respectable YouTuber, Bellular. What's going on with that?
So his the Pale Beyond. You got to add the in there. Don't look for his game by typing in Pale Beyond. It is the Pale Beyond is launching this week. Bellular has really helped to shift the game industry news format, and we have been doing news on YouTube for a very long time, as long as Rooster Teeth was, actually. And yeah, we think that he's been doing a great job of it, and he is also the head of a company that makes video games. And the fact that he's done that and still manages to give what I'd say is some of the fairest, best reviews on stuff, like his take on the whole Blizzard thing was stand up, ovation. Like, I just like listening to him talk. about what's going on over there, and we're not going to get into the Blizzard thing, but Blizzard somehow managed to step in it again. Bellular being connected, having legitimate, potential for being cut out of any kind of like future stuff every time he criticizes them, stood up and said the truth. And that was really great. So whenever somebody's like this is standing up saying the truth, and then they do go into quite deep into how they deal with similar situations in their company, it's like, I really hope this game does fantastically well, and that he builds a brand new studio that ultimately becomes a big AAA studio that makes dozens and dozens of critically acclaimed games, because he's got a good head on his shoulder. And I want to just point that out, saying that the industry is not all bad. Every time we get an EA, we also get an EA that, or similar studio that eventually falls apart because they don't know how to manage stuff, and they ultimately lose their licenses for all their bad games that shove microtransactions down your throat, stuff like that. Eventually EA will crumble, and in its place, a new company will be there. And we hope that it'll be something run by somebody like Bellular, who manages to make great games and help to reinforce positivity in the industry before they retire, and then somebody else gets in there and runs it into the ground just like EA, and the whole cycle repeats again. So check out The Pale Beyond. It looks really great. It's based off of a true story in our northern waters here in this great vast country that we have, and how they all froze to death.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was the North. I'm pretty sure it was the North American North Pole.
Okay.
Not North Pole, but like northern region. Right. I'm pretty sure it was that. I might be confusing it with the Southern Pole, like going to Antarctica, but I'm pretty sure it's north. So forgive me if I'm incorrect on that. I haven't. It comes out this week. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, that's good, because the North Pole is so much cooler than the South Pole.
Right.
Yeah, the game looks cool. I might actually buy it, just to support independent creators. Depends on how much it costs. It doesn't really say here on Steam, but I'll give it a look, and you guys should too.
It's not going to be full price, like $80.
Right. Yeah, I figured. All right, I'm surprised. Like, I normally look at the list of topics like this, and I think we're going to go over an hour, but we actually managed to keep below 50 minutes. Holy crap. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us for this episode of Maximum News today. Make sure to leave a like, because that not only helps out this episode, but it helps out all the other videos on this channel. I want to thank Syb, as always, for providing these lovely insights, suggesting all the topics. Syb, do you want to tell people about the main Triple S League channel before we sign off?
Yes, it was. The story is based off of the Endurance from Antarctica. I did get that wrong.
So it's the South Pole.
But check out our.
Now I might not
channel.
Check it out. Sorry.
Check out our main channel, the Triple S League. We've got a bunch of other side channels, as well as the new channel that we're starting to push a little bit more, because we finally have more content going over there, which is the AI Plays channel. Ash has been doing that. It's a passion project of his. He really loves talking about AI, and I do too. He's been working with me, and I'm mostly AI for a long time. So yeah, check us out there. And again, we always appreciate and love the support. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. And thank you for that as well. And make sure you guys follow me on my main channel and any of the other forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I'll put links to that and the Triple S League stuff in the description box below. Thanks, guys. And until we do this again next week, hopefully I'll have time to play Atomic Heart. I want to remind you, as always, and as per usual, stay yellow.